A few years into teaching, after trying all kinds of teacher planners, including plum paper, I'm gonna drop some names here, one I even made for myself, a few that I bought on Teachers Pay Teachers, and even the coveted Erin Condren teacher planner, I decided to commit teacher adultery or something else like taboo, incredibly sinful as a teacher. I threw it away. I threw all of my teacher planners away. Oh my gosh, end of days. This is insane, right? Let me tell you why I threw it away. Here's the thing. I was a high school social studies teacher with 3 to 4 even different preps, sometimes like another half one because I taught something hybrid or completely online, right? I would create all of these things digitally, whether it's student activities and notes and slides and all of this stuff and even escape rooms and all this stuff that existed digitally. And then I would work my tail end off, mostly over the weekends, to write it all out neatly, day by day by day. And then the next year, exactly 1 year later, I would work my butt off, normally on the weekends, to write it all out day by day, even though I had the last one, and all I was doing is writing it over again into this new one. And it just went against my whole understanding of what it is to work smarter, not harder. And that's why I threw it away. Okay, there were lots of other reasons, and I'm sorry if this is triggering you, but you should know that I love a good planner. I still use, to this day, my personal planner, which is the Full Focus Planner. You can find out more about that at a link down in the description. I'm looking down because I dropped all kinds of things off of my very tidy desk. But I still use, and I really do love planners, but it just got to be exhausting and even frustrating for me. So I switched. And in this video, I'm going to not just talk about and not just tell you what I did instead, I'm actually going to show you. And I've actually done this recently on my podcast, but on that platform, I can't really show you, right? On this one, I can show you. So join me for this video today on digital planning, where I actually get to show you exactly what you could be doing in the system that you could be building in your own daily teaching life. Let's get to it. Well, hey there, and welcome back. If you are new around here, so glad that you are joining me. Hello. I am Mandy Rice of TeachOnAMission.com and the Sustainable Teacher Podcast. And here on this platform, I am releasing a new video every single week that is meant to reinvigorate, to help you find the love of your job, your profession that is teaching, but doing it in ways that is sustainable for you, meaning it allows you to do or have what we call both, BOTH, here on this channel in all things Teach on a Mission and the Sustainable Teacher. And both means that you actually can. We are challenging the status quo that says you can't, right? Because we say you can have both. You can be effective in the classroom with your students, and you can have a personal life. You can leave when your contract time is over and leave work at work and go enjoy your thriving personal life and your family and your friends or your furry baby, right? Like anything that you have waiting for you at home, you get to go and enjoy it as long as you're effective during your time during the day. And that's what I'm hoping each of these videos help you to do. So if you are here for that type of stuff on a weekly basis to hopefully help you do all of those things that I just listed out, go ahead and click to like this video, even comment below if you would like, but also subscribe and click that notification bell so you do not miss a single video coming out in the near future. Okay, digital planning for teachers. Let's get to it. So, digital planning for teachers. Before I'm actually going to switch cameras and microphones, just a heads up. And by the way, something that I didn't do, if you watched my last videos, I didn't change. Normally, I try to do that just so it's like a better kind of like understanding for your brain that this is a different video, but I just didn't feel like it. I just don't want to get something else, quote, dirty. Not that I would wear it for very long, but you know what I mean? I just didn't feel like it. So this is a new video. It's on a different topic. I'm just wearing the same thing. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. Okay, but I will be switching cameras here soon to show you the how, right? Of kind of taking you through what this system could be for you. But first, let's go over what are the advantages. What are the advantages of digital planning? Again, you might want to go back into my podcast if you're on the podcast bandwagon and listen to, I'm forgetting what episode it is. But there is an episode in there on digital planning. But It's all of the reasons, all of the advantages to digital planning that I explained in the intro, but let me elaborate, okay? So advantage number 1, I don't have to write the same daggone thing year in and year out just because what I did last year on a Monday is now happening on a Tuesday or whatever, right? Because the days don't match up. It doesn't make sense. That is the opposite of working smarter, not harder, and I just want it to exist sans the days, and then I can plug things in on my Google Calendar, which I'll show you a little later, and it's an easy drag and drop. There's no erasing. There's no rewriting. It's amazing. Okay, so that's advantage number 1. Advantage number 2, sharing with colleagues. I am not giving up what is my paper teacher planner to anyone else to see my pacing and what I'm doing every day, or even what my nitty-gritty details are in lesson planning. Not happening. But I also teach on a collaborative team of teachers. I'm hoping and praying that that's the case for you, because that's amazing. So how do I do this, right? Well, with digital planning, it's a quick share of a Google Doc, or in Microsoft 365, quick share of your Word document, right? And now everyone not only can see it and beg, borrow, and steal like the best of them, right? But also they can help in the creation process. The burden doesn't have to be on only one person when it's a team of people teaching the same thing. And that is just so much easier and so much more of a collaborative process if the document or documents themselves are shareable. Advantage number 3, one word, links. Links. That's it. So instead of having a printed or written lesson plan, and then I have to manually search for and find all of the materials I need for any particular lesson and have it all like lined out or in a folder or whatever, now I simply link each of those activities that exist digitally, because that's the thing, right? Everything we have exists digitally now. Maybe not 10 years ago, but now 99% of things exist digitally. Now I get to link all of those things, hyperlink it in the lesson plan or the unit guide, the unit plan that I'm going to be showing you soon. It's all linked in one place. So what does this look like? So for day 1 of a unit, let's say that I'm going to use a particular presentation or slide deck. Well, I'm going to have that slide deck linked. Then let's say that I have a student notes file that my students are going to be writing on during that day 1 lesson. Well, I'm going to have those student notes linked. Let's say that they have a reading guide or some other something for homework. I'm going to have that linked directly on the document itself. You know why? Because then it's one thing. It's one tab that I have open in order to have access to the rest of the hella tabs that I need to have access to at any given point. Here's the other reason. 1 year from now, when I'm going to go to do the same thing again, because you know what, when I make a lesson and when you make a lesson, it's great and you want to do it again. And you probably take a few little notes to make it even better, right? When I'm going to go do this, the same exact thing next year, I don't have to search in all of the folders. Hopefully the video that I made last week, the last video that I made on organizing Google Drive and all those hacks and stuff, hopefully that was helpful. Give it a look-see if you haven't yet. But even if you do or don't have all of the amazing Google Drive organization and the organization of your files, having one-stop shop in what is your unit guide with all of the links in one place is revolutionary. So now I'm actually going to show you what are 2 different versions of something that does the same exact thing. So I'm going to switch cameras and microphones here and we'll get to it. Okay, so I've hopped over onto what is my computer, web camera, and microphone, like I said, just because it's a little bit easier. And like I said, I want to be able to show you some things. But before I kind of bring up my screen here, I just want you to know I'm going to be showing you 2 versions of what is essentially the same thing. And that there are really 2 big ideas that both of them accomplish. Okay, number 1, it's that they are shareable Google files. And we kind of talked about that, but I want to reiterate it. No matter which version you go with, whether it's a Google Doc or Google Spreadsheet, which I'm going to show you, they are both Google files and they are shareable so that my teaching team not only can see these plans, but can be part owners, essentially, and play a role in creating them as much as I do, meaning it's not all on me. And if you use this system, it's not all on you or any one person on your teaching team. Number 2, there's no sense in making separate documents. Okay, so this applies to both, whether you use Google Doc or Google Spreadsheet, which I'm about to show you. In the traditional sense, if you make lesson plans digitally, you might make one file for each plan. I'm telling you, there's no sense in that. There's no sense in making separate documents for each lesson plan or day. It's unnecessary and it creates too much clicking between documents. We just don't need to. Not to mention how easy it would be to lose where any given lesson plan might be, no matter how great you are at the organization, like we talked about in my previous video on Google Drive organization and all of that, okay? So let me show you both of these versions of what are digital planning. So let's call this Exhibit A, okay? So this is predominantly how I planned what was the main class that I taught or had the most preps for, which was AP Psychology. And it is very much in an outline form. Later on when I taught American History, I actually used a Google Doc still, but I used the table to help me to organize every single day. But let me show you all of the things here, okay? One thing that you may notice right off of the bat is some links, okay? So like here is a link to what are my Unit 1 Scientific Foundations reading guides. So it's one whole file, okay? One whole file for all of the reading guides for Unit 1. You'll see that there's a link to a video down here and that there's an activity down here that I have linked. But here's the big thing. I flipped AP Psychology. So my digital planning reflected that, okay? The big components that you're going to want to see here are the standards. The learning targets, whatever the heck you want to call those, are what's going to take up most of the space here, because that is a reminder to me and then maybe even my students. Look, all of these things that we're doing here, right? Really, what are the lessons and the activities and stuff? All of this that's on this little unit guide here, all of those mean nothing if we don't make sure that they are rooted in these things, because these are the things that the organization in which gives the test at the end of the year are saying you have to know. So I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't talk about these things, or at least have some oversight to make sure that I'm including and making sure I'm touching on each of those items. Okay, so I made an outline breaking down all of my standards and really what was ultimately the organizational foundation of how I ran my classroom into an outline format using topics. So this first topic, introducing psychology, here's all the standards, right? There's lots more, but these are the only ones for this topic that I decided was a topic, kind of, sort of. And then here's everything that my students will, quote, need for the lessons, okay? So my students would watch this video and do a reading guide, and then we'd be doing the outrageous celebrity case study in class, and then we would have a perspectives quiz, okay? This is me kind of outlining all kinds of things. And then it's the same thing, just rinse and repeat for each of the topics. And I knew in my plans that each topic took approximately a day to 2 days normally. And then look, all of these links, the vocab quiz, the practice test, even all of the tests, my unit test. And then you're probably thinking to yourself, but this doesn't tell me what I'm doing on each day. This is where I put in some pacing, okay? So this is a pacing suggestion because this is actually a unit guide that I give to all of my Sustainable Psych Teacher members, which is just a membership that we have for teachers teaching AP Psychology in the first few years of teaching the course, because they're like, oh my gosh, I've never taught this. What do I do? Well, here, let me give you all of my things. Okay, so I just make a little table. All this is a little table, and I use some colors and all of that to say, here's what I'm doing. The highlighted stuff in yellow is homework. The highlighted in green is a quiz, and this tells me exactly what I'm doing every day. Notice that it just says day 1, 2, 3, da, 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 da. It's not a day of the week, right? That makes sure that I don't have to do things over and over and over again. So then if you wanted to, and I think I'm going to get to talking about this here in a little bit, you could then just have the topic name or even day 1, day 2, day 3 in your Google Calendar, if that's something that you use, to say, okay, here's what I'm doing so that I know, okay, I got to look at where I am. I'm on day 1. Okay, I'm on day 1. Here's where all of my things are. Now, version or exhibit B is essentially doing the same exact thing, but in spreadsheet format, okay? All of the things that you see here, everybody, is that I used a few things to my advantage. Merging cells. I merged all of these cells together to make sure that that makes sense for my brain. And I merged all of these cells together, right? And then I used colors. Really, that's all I used. Colors and merging cells to make it look the way that it looks right now. The other thing that I did was, if you see this little gray line, this actually is all the way back here by default. And this one here is all the way up here by default. So that when I scroll, everything essentially goes away, right? Well, if I get the little hand here and drag it over, now when I scroll, these two things that are behind that gray line will stay there. So I can go over and see what quizzes I need to be doing, right? But still have that reference of the first two columns. And then likewise for this guy, I'm gonna drag it down so that if I had more on my screen, I could scroll down and still see what the lesson, video, practice, activity, and all of that are. Now, I'm telling you that this is pretty much the same thing as this unit guide here. Pretty much. It's not going to have as much of this pacing here, but you may not need that. And that's because I put in class periods here of how many classes it's going to take up. So you could put day 1 through 2, and then here put day 3, and then here put day 4 through 5. That's up to you. But again, the objectives are there. The lesson videos are there, and notice that they are linked, meaning I could click here and it's going to take me directly to that thing. Okay? That is so insane. If you don't do that, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. You shouldn't even do this. That's a little dramatic, but I even have up here in the top left, I didn't get to link the guided notes before doing this video, but here is, a unit document, right? So here is a document that lasts for the whole unit is what I'm saying. It's not just for one lesson. So I have referenced here what my students are doing, which of the reading guides they would be doing, but they all exist in one document, which I have linked up here because again, fewer documents, the better, okay? Okay, now that I've kind of shown you a little bit of the how, a little bit of the structure, I want to give you some parting tips and advice as we're kind of closing this out here. My biggest tip is to make it what you need, right? If in a particular unit or your course, let's say it isn't very vocabulary heavy. I tried to think of one off the top of my head as I was typing that. Maybe this isn't the greatest example to use. I couldn't think of one, but anyhow, let's just say that your course or one of your units isn't very vocab heavy. You don't have to have a vocab column, right? Let's say that you don't flip your classroom and don't have a video. Instead, you have slides, right? That's something else that I absolutely could have put in one of the columns was my slides. Totally up to you. So yeah, you don't have to have that column or any aspect of that if you don't need it. Don't put something in there that you don't need. Simple as that. Now, the next tip, I guess, is that this really can be your one-stop shop for absolutely everything for any given unit of your course. Quite literally, wouldn't have to go anywhere else to access the hella tabs that you have to have open each day. So let me show you something that I didn't get to and totally forgot about. So you'll notice down in the bottom left-hand corner of the spreadsheet, for instance, that it says template, right? So if I'm going to make this my template, I'm actually going to delete all of this text here, right? And then I'm going to click the little down arrow and I'm going to click duplicate and I'm going to click it again and rename it and say Unit 1. So that then when it's time, so if I come back over to my template and I delete all of this text, right? I'm also going to reset all the colors and I'm going to delete those two items. Here is my template. I'm going to unmerge some cells here as well. Here's my little unmerge button. Oh shoot, they're in frozen columns. That's okay. I'm going to unmerge them. This is now a template so that when it's time for me to go create what is my unit map or unit guide for Unit 2, I can click to duplicate that, rename it and call it Unit 2, right? And then drag that over to be behind Unit 2 if that's something you would like. You could also, if you're in Unit 2, make sure that Unit 2 is right there. You could even make sure it's right before your template, right? Just another little trick there. Now for the Google document, I'm going to advise that you make a separate Google document for each unit that you have. Okay, because you don't want it to be a running thing. Now, if you do, you absolutely could. It may slow down the speed of the document, but if you do, something that you could implement. I'm gonna actually take you to a template that I have here, and I'm gonna click enter a couple times and show you how to do this. You could click insert and go to, where the heck is it? Table of contents, where? There it is, all the way at the bottom, table of contents, and then click blue link. And this could be your table of contents. So you could make it Unit 1. Oh, no, you never actually type in there. Sorry, I don't know what I was thinking. So I'm gonna say, here's Unit 1, but I'm going to select that and make sure that it is a header. And then I'm going to change it to match the rest of my document, right? And I'm going to click the little refresh button on the timeline, or I'm sorry, on the table of contents, and then Unit 1 will pop up there. Now, then if I come down here and I want to create more, right? I go to heading and I make it the font that I want and I type Unit 2. Now, when I go back up and click the refresh button on my table of contents, Unit 2 will show up. So I say all of this to say, if you want one running document for your unit guide, you can do that. I just advise that you use the table of contents to help you do so. Tip number 3, and I've said this, I'm going to say it again, is that if you don't link, you might as well not do it. It really is all pointless if you don't take advantage of linking literally every single thing, even if it's not something you use. So for instance, in that additional resources column, or maybe another column entirely that says like maybe someday, you could even link things that you maybe someday want to take a look at, and you don't want to forget where it is, and you don't want to pin it to Pinterest because you're just going to lose it on there, right? So use links everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. All right, tip number 4 is that it doesn't have to be super fancy. In fact, if it is, the fanciness might get in the way. Maybe you don't like all of the colors that I use. Don't do it then, right? Just don't let the functionality of the document be what's so great about it, not how pretty or aesthetically pleasing it is. All right, another tip for you is to make a template. You may have noticed that in the name of the spreadsheet is that I put template in the title, but I also put a template tab, right? I just showed you guys this, just want to remind you, put the capitalized word template in the title of the document, especially if you're using a Google Doc, and then in the tab of your spreadsheet too, so that it's just the structure of the document that you then can make a copy each time then it's time to create a new unit guide or outline or whatever else you might want to call it. All right, the last tip for you is make your current or next, maybe and, not just or, make your current and next unit guide quickly accessible. Now, if you're using the spreadsheet version, you have it all accessible in that one thing, right? But if you're using a Google Doc, which I oftentimes used, here's what I would do. I put an asterisk in the title at the beginning of the title name of the file, right? So it's at the top of any list that I have in Google Drive. And I would do this for the spreadsheet as well. But you can also bookmark both your current and next unit, right? So that they are one click away no matter where you are on the World Wide Web. Because you're both in the current unit and need access to looking at what's happening now, but you also want access to the next unit as you're kind of preparing for the things, right? That's for the Google Doc version. So if you use a Google Drive, the spreadsheet version, just have that bad boy bookmarked in the same spot all the time, and it's your one-stop shop for all things lesson planning digitally in your teacher life. Okay, I hope that you found this helpful. Please feel free to rewind and rewatch whatever it is that you're like, I'm not so sure that I kind of caught that part there. Just remember that you want to make it work for you, and you want to break free from being tied to the paper, right? The paper things don't always serve us. And if you find that to be your case, I hope that this video was helpful for you. Don't forget to click to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so that you do not miss a single video coming out, hopefully on a weekly, if not more often basis. And go ahead and leave me a comment. Was this helpful? Do you want to learn about more things like this, digital planning or anything Google or other tools? I would love to know. Please get in the comments. Let me know what you found helpful or what you would like to see more of. And I will see you same time right here next week. Bye for now.